Hi, this is session 19 of Apigee Edge course for beginners. In this session, we will see demo to revoke refresh token along with access token. In session 15 of our course, we have discussed why and how do we have to revoke access token. In case if you haven't watched that session, I would recommend you to watch in order to get a basic understanding of revoking tokens. Okay, if you are new to our channel or haven't subscribed our channel yet, please subscribe, which will force me to make more videos frequently. Alright, let's see demo to revoke refresh token. Let's flip to Google Chrome browser and log in into Apigee Edge UI. After login, click API proxies under develop menu, which will populate all the available API proxies which we have created already. And as you know, API proxy demo is the API proxy which we have created for our course and which we have been developing in our course so far. So let's use the same API proxy in this session as well. And let's click develop tab. And here if you could see OAuth2 is the proxy endpoint which we have been using to generate access tokens, refresh access token, and revoke access token. So here we have a flow to revoke access token. So in order to implement revoking refresh token, either we can modify this flow or we can add a separate flow. So for our convenience, we are going to add a new flow to invalidate refresh token along with access tokens. So let's add a new flow. So in order to add a new flow, let's click the plus icon over here, which will give the pop-up window to add a new flow. So let's provide the necessary details and let's add this flow. So I'm going to name this flow as revoke refresh token, and description we can give something like this is the flow to revoke refresh token along with access token. Some of you might be wondering why I'm giving revoking refresh token along with access token. I will explain it in a while. So let's provide this value. So conditional type, let's select path and verb since we are going to use path and verb. So I'm going to provide path. So let's provide something like revoke underscore refresh underscore token, and verb let's select post. With these changes, let's add this flow. So this will add the flow, but we would need a policy to implement our functionality. So which policy will do the job for us? Which policy will invalidate or revoke our refresh token? As you might have guessed already, what we do policy will do the job for us. All right, so let's go and add the policy. In order to add a new policy, we'll have to click the plus icon over here under policy section. So let's click plus icon and look for what we do policy. And here it is. I'm going to name this policy as OAuth-v2-revoke refresh icon token. So let's add this policy, and before we make any change, let's get rid of all the unnecessary elements from the policy. Alright, so in this policy we are trying to revoke the token, revoke the refresh token. So in order to do that, we need to specify the operation as invalidate token. So let's change the operation to invalidate token from verify access token, invalidate token, which will revoke the token. Alright, so in the tokens section, we would need token element, and here we would need a couple of attributes. So first attribute is type. So here we'll have to specify whether we are interested in revoking access token or refresh token. So here let's provide refresh token first, and we have another attribute that we'll see in a moment. So for now, let's provide only type attribute, and we'll have to let the policy know from where we will pass the token from the request. So where we are going to pass the token in our request. So in this session, we will see or we'll pass the token in the header from our request. Again, you can pass it from anywhere you want. That is, you can pass it from header or query param or from body section. You can pass it from anywhere. But the thing is, we should mention it properly from where we are going to pass it. So how are we going to let this policy know that we are going to pass it from header, or how are we going to tell this policy to read our token from the header of our request? So we can tell the policy to read it from the header. So get the token from the request and from the header and from the variable name. So let's provide the variable name something like refresh underscore token. So this policy will look for token from the header in this variable name. So it will look for refresh underscore token variable in the header and it will try to get that value as refresh token. All right. Now we have made the changes required in the policy. Now we'll have to attach this policy in our flow. So let's go and attach. So we have created the flow revoke refresh token. So this is our flow in order to attach in the request element. So let's add a step, and inside a step let's add name tag and provide the name of the policy which we have created now. All right, with these changes, let's go and save this as a new revision so that we'll not lose our existing implementation. We'll have the reference. All right, new revision is saved, and let's deploy new revision on test environment. All right, our new revision is saved and deployed. Let's flip to Postman 2 to test these changes. So this is the endpoint to generate access token using password grant type. So again, if you are new to generating access tokens using password grant type or client credentials grant type, we have made a session on generating access tokens using password grant type and client credentials grant type. In case if you haven't watched those videos, I would recommend you to watch those videos to get familiar with generating access tokens. All right, so let's try to generate a fresh access token. All right, so we have generated the access token now, and now let's try to consume our default endpoint with this access token, and let's see whether we are able to consume it. And it says access token expired because our access token expires in only 10 seconds. So let's try to generate it a fresh one, and let's try to quickly invoke our uh, default endpoint to confirm whether we are able to get it. So let's quickly copy it and provide the value, and let's click send. Here we go. We are able to get the response successfully from the edge. And if you could click again, it will say access token expired because we have set the access token expiry time to 10 seconds. So it gets expired in 10 seconds, and refresh token expires in 300 seconds. All right. So now let's try to invalidate the refresh token which you've got here. All right, so let's try to generate a fresh access token, and let's copy this refresh token. Again, this is the flow which we have created now. If you could see the path we have given as revoke underscore refresh underscore token. So this is our path, and this is our endpoint base path. So we have provided this path, and we have set the refresh underscore token in the header. So if you could see in the policy, your refresh token, so we have provided variable name as refresh underscore token. So we'll have to provide this variable name in the header. So we'll have to provide the refresh token here. So let's try to generate another fresh access token, and let's copy the refresh token and provide the refresh token here, and let's see what we get from edge. It says 200. Okay, so how can we verify that it is in revoke? So again, we have made a video to use refresh token to refresh our access token. So this is basically what it will do is it will take refresh token and it will give the new fresh access token. In case if you haven't watched that session of refreshing access token using refresh token, I would recommend you to watch so that you'll get familiar with that concept as well. All right, so now let's try to refresh our access token by passing refresh token. So let's provide this token and let's see what we get. It is access refresh token not approved. It means we have revoked our token. With the revoked or invalidated refresh token, we won't be able to refresh our access token. So that's what it says. Again, we can reapprove this token that we will see in our next session. But now let's try to understand that with the revoked or invalidated refresh token, we won't be able to refresh our access token. All right. Now let's try to understand the couple of points in terms of invalidating refresh token. So let's navigate to the policy, and here we have another attribute called cascade. So this will take boolean field, that is true or false it will take. So for now let's try to provide as true, and instead of providing the type as refresh token, now let's try to provide access token. And let's save these changes. So now what it will do is, what cascade true will do is, when we pass the access token to invalidate or to revoke, then it will invalidate that particular access token and its associated refresh token as well. When we set the cascade value to true, it will invalidate both access token and its associated refresh token as well. Let's prove that in action. Let's try to generate a fresh access token here, and we have got the access token. With this access token, let's try to invalidate this access token. So it says 200. Okay, this access token is invalidated. Now let's try to consume default endpoint with this invalidated access token, and let's see what we get from Edge. It says access token expired. Yes, because we have set the access token expiry time to only 10 seconds. So let's change this value to 1 minute so that we can test it clearly. So let's navigate to the policy where we generate access token using password grant type. So here we have set the expiry time for access token as 10,000 milliseconds, which is 10 seconds. So let's try to change it to 60,000 milliseconds, which is 1 minute. 60,000 milliseconds, which is 1 minute. All right. So let's save these changes. All right, our changes are saved. Now let's try to generate a fresh access token. And now it says it expires in 60 seconds. All right, so let's try to copy this access token and let's try to invalidate it first. So let's invalidate it, that is, let's revoke this access token, and it says 200. Okay, now with the revoked access token, I'm trying to consume our default endpoint, and let's see whether we are able to get the response. See, it says access token not approved, so it means we have revoked our access token, and we have set the cascade to true now. If you could see, we have set the cascade to true now. So if you set the cascade to true and if you specify the type to access token, then as we discussed, the access token will be revoked and the respective and its associated refresh token also will be revoked. So let's prove that. Now This is the access token. Now let's try to refresh our access token by providing this refresh token. So let's try to provide this refresh token and let's see whether we are able to refresh our access token. Let's give the request and let's see what we get from Edge. Look at that. It says refresh token not approved. It means the refresh token also has revoked. It is invalidated because we have set the cascade value to true. On the other hand, if we set the cascade value to false, then let's save our changes. Let's see that in action so that it would be easy to understand. All right. Now, if you set the cascade value to false, then its access token will be revoked and its respective or its associated refresh token will come unused. It will be unused. It means we cannot use it. In Apigee Edge, if we want to revoke only access token and if we don't want to revoke its refresh token, then it is not possible for the security purposes. So let's actually see that in action. Now we have set the type to access token and its cascade value to false. With this, let's try to generate a fresh access token. Now let's try to invalidate this access token. Alright, the access token is invalidated. With this access token, I'm trying to consume our default endpoint and let's see what we get from Edge. Alright, it says access token not approved, so it means obviously access token is revoked. Alright, now let's try to use this refresh token to refresh our access token, that is to get fresh access token. So let's see what we get from Edge. See, it says access token not approved. By default, if we try to invalidate only access token and not its refresh token, then that is not possible in Apigee Edge. That's what it is happening here because we have revoked only access token and we haven't revoked its associated refresh token. But when we try to refresh the access token by using this refresh token, we are getting the response as access token not approved. By default, it refresh token also, it has come be unusable. All right. On the other hand, if we set the type as refresh token and the cascade value is false, now actually let's save these changes. Now what happens is if we try to invalidate it by passing the refresh token from the request, so it will revoke the refresh token and it will not revoke its associated access tokens. Let's actually prove that. Let's try to generate a fresh access token. Now before revoking this refresh token, let's try to consume our default endpoint with this access token and let's see whether we are able to get the response properly. Here we go, we are able to get the response and now let's try to revoke this refresh token. Alright, it says 200 okay. Now let's try to invoke this default endpoint with the same access token and let's see whether we are able to get the response. Here we go, we are able to get the response. That is because we are invalidating only its refresh token and its associated access token will be valid because we have set the cascade to false. On the other hand, if we set the cascade value to true, then the refresh token will be invalidated along with associated access tokens as well. So let's prove that in action. Let's save these changes. All right, now let's try to generate a fresh access token. Now, before we, invalidating the refresh token, let's try to invoke our default endpoint with this access token and let's see whether we are able to invoke the endpoint successfully. Here we go. We are able to invoke it successfully. Now let's try to invalidate this refresh token. Now its refresh token is invalidated. Now let's try to invoke our default endpoint with the same access token. With this access token, we let's keep in mind that we have invalidated only the refresh token, and since the cascade we set to true its respective, that is the respective access token of this refresh token also would get revoked. So let's see that in action. Let's try to give the request and let's see what we get from Edge. Here we go. It is access token expired. Okay, we have set the access token is expiry time to 1 minute. All right, let's try to do it a fresh token. All right, let's try to invalidate this. So it is invalidated. Now let's try to access this endpoint and let's see whether we get the response. We should not get the response. See, it says access token not approved. It means when we set the cascade to true and type is refresh token, then the refresh token will be invalidated along with its associated access tokens as well. All right, I hope now you understood the concept of revoking access token and its refresh token. In our next video session, we will see how to reapprove the invalidated access token and refresh token. And that's it in this video. I hope you like this video. If so, please press like button and share it with your friends. Also, please do not forget to subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Happy learning.